Orca whales are like a cross between that picky kid who only eats one kind of food and your conservative uncle who hates Mexicans. Only they're pretty. One of the first things you're told in the field of animal behavior is not to anthropomorphize your subjects, or give non-human animals human-like qualities. In addition to being incredibly unscientific, I think it's dangerous to apply human standards to non-human animals. While plenty of animals share experiences and emotions that are similar to humans, thinking of them in the same way we think of humans can be misleading and can cause us to judge other animals incorrectly. For an example of how anthropomorphizing other animals can make understanding animals' behavior much more difficult, let's turn to the orca. Orcas, or killer whales, are toothed whales that live in the ocean. They're social creatures that live in highly organized groups. When they're born, an orca is part of a matriline that contains between 2 to 10 whales. Each matriline is part of a pod, which is part of a clan, which is part of a community. These communities are known by the areas they frequent. For example, there's a community around southern Vancouver Island, another near Alaska, and so on. These communities are all part of a group of orcas currently called residents by scientists, because they tend to stay in the same geographic area for most of the year. Other orcas that have no fixed feeding grounds, called transients, are less strictly bound by these organizational rules, but they're still grouped into matrilines, pods, and clans by most scientists. These whales also eat a wide variety of foods. From stingray to salmon, otters to seals, orcas will eat almost anything that lives in the ocean. While orcas as a whole do eat all of these foods, no individual orca eats all of them. In fact, individuals are actually extremely picky eaters. Some may only eat seals, some may only eat salmon. Before this was known, there was a case where an orca in captivity refused to eat any fish for 75 days, until it died. Killer whales have been observed to literally starve themselves to death rather than try new foods. These different lifestyles, from only eating marine mammals to living in a specific geographic area, are called ecotypes. And there's many different ecotypes of killer whales. There are also many different morphotypes, or physical differences, and these correlate with the different ecotypes. Essentially, this means that different groups of orcas have different foods, different social patterns, and are physically different from each other. One of the commonalities between different groups of orcas is that they're all described as culturally conservative by scientists, resisting changes in their lifestyle. This can be seen in what extremely picky eaters they are, resisting change even when starving. Additionally, orcas seem to be, for lack of a better word, xenophobic, reacting violently when exposed to whales of other lifestyles or cultures. In one recorded encounter off the coast of Vancouver Island, scientists observed a group of residents apparently trying to kill 3 transients. Almost the entire pod of residents was observed chasing these 3 and attempting to beach them. Scientists also observed what looked like teeth marks on 2 of the transient whales, implying they'd been bitten by some of the residents. The transients ultimately escaped, but the display of this level of animosity between the 2 groups of whales is remarkable. While this is only one extreme example, there's a reason why multiple scientists have described orcas as xenophobic. 2 groups that don't eat the same food, don't compete with each other for mates, they don't even live in the same geographic area most of the time, still show violent animosity or fear when confronted with the other. The only reason for these displays of behavior would be their cultural differences. The thing about these behaviors is, if they were seen in humans, they'd be unacceptable. They'd be called racist, discriminatory, and we'd never tolerate them. But in orcas, they're normal, if hard for us to deal with as humans. But the range of normal behaviors is different in different animals. By human standards, bonobos would be guilty of indecent exposure, while most reptiles would be extreme child abandonment cases. Orcas would be monsters. we're studying animal behavior, we can appreciate the beauty of animals and how similar to us they can be, just as long as we remember that they are in fact different from us, and the same standards cannot be applied to other species. In 1987, one orca in a pod started carrying a dead salmon around on her head. This started a fad where other whales in the pod imitated her, and for about 5 weeks there was a host of orcas carrying around salmon on their heads, almost like a fashionable hat.